It was a sunny day in the city center when Thomas Davis decided to stop by the Prinito Nick store, a renowned clothing chain famous for its exclusive products and luxury service. He wore denim jeans, a simple white t-shirt, and his favorite jacket. He was an elegant and calm presence, and had never had any issues in this place until now. Upon entering, he felt an odd tension in the air. Some glances turned towards him, something he was used to. But this time, the discomfort was different. Less than 5 minutes had passed when a man in a gray suit and a stern expression stood in front of him. It was the store manager, Mark Son, a man in his 50s whose tone of voice and way of looking at him left Thomas perplexed. "Can I help you with something?" asked Mark with a calculated coldness. "Thanks, I'm just looking," Thomas replied kindly, trying to avoid conflict, but the manager didn't move. He stared at Thomas with a suspicious expression, then looked around, making sure all the employees were watching. "We don't allow people like you to wander the store unsupervised. It's company policy," he added with a sarcastic smile. Thomas felt a knot in his stomach. He had never been treated this way, but he decided not to take it personally. In a calm voice, he replied that he just wanted to look at some shirts without disturbing anyone. However, the manager seemed determined to not let him be. "I would prefer if you left, sir. I don't think this store is for you," he said loudly so everyone present could hear. The humiliation was immediate. Some customers looked on curiously, while others looked away uncomfortably. Thomas took a deep breath, controlling the anger that was beginning to ignite in his chest. He felt the weight of every gaze on him, but chose to keep his composure. "Fine, I will leave," he said with dignity, staring the manager in the eyes. "But I'll be back." Mark let out a mocking laugh, showing no concern in hiding the disdain he felt. "I hope so. Let's see how long that lasts." That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. It wasn't just anger. There was something more in the way the manager had looked at him, as if the disdain was personal. As an investigative journalist, Thomas decided to do what he did best: research. He began searching online for information about the store and its employees. Eventually, he found the manager's profile, Mark Son, and what he uncovered wasn't just a simple biography of a middle-aged worker with a managerial position. With a bit more searching, Thomas found old news articles where Mark was mentioned in a fraud case from 20 years ago at a luxury store in another city. Though no conclusive evidence was found against him, the information felt unsettling. Later, Thomas discovered an even darker detail. A couple of years ago, an employee had filed a harassment and threat complaint against Mark. Although the case never went to trial, the matter had been mysteriously closed, but the stain on Mark's record was clear. There was something bigger behind all of this, and Thomas had a hunch. That night, he decided he would seek justice, not just for the humiliation he had endured, but also for all the people this man had hurt with his arrogance and abuse of power. With the information he had gathered, Thomas devised a detailed plan. He knew that in order for the truth to come to light, he needed hard evidence. Days passed as Thomas closely followed Mark and frequented places the manager usually visited after work. One night, he managed to follow him to a small bar on the outskirts of the city. With the patience of a hunter, Thomas watched Mark from a discreet corner. During a conversation with one of his colleagues, he overheard something revealing, a reference to a second business, something dark and dangerous that Mark was involved in. With cunning, Thomas used his contacts and skills to obtain additional information. What he uncovered was chilling. Mark had been involved in a money laundering scheme through the store. For years, he had been using the company as a front to transfer funds of dubious origin. Thomas's revenge was almost ready. With each new piece of information, his plan took shape. Finally, the day came, a Monday morning when the store was busiest. Thomas returned to Prinito Niku with all the documentation in hand. As he entered, the manager saw him and looked at him with contempt, probably thinking that Thomas had come back to cause a scene. But Thomas only smiled and said loudly, "Good morning, Mr. Anson. I came to make a purchase, but before that, I want to share something with everyone present." With a clear voice and without hesitation, he began telling the employees and customers how Mark had used the store for money laundering. Every word he spoke was backed by the documents he had gathered: photos, bank statements, and a complete dossier with all the suspicious transactions. Mark tried to stop him by shouting and demanding that he leave, but it was too late. By then, several employees were recording the scene with their phones, and one of them even called the police. When the officers arrived, Thomas handed them all the evidence he had collected, enough for them to arrest Mark right there, in front of everyone's astonished gaze. News of Mark Hansen's arrest spread quickly. As his illegal activities were exposed, it was revealed that in addition to his racism, Mark had led a life of corruption and manipulation, abusing his power to intimidate and control those under his command. Thomas, for his part, felt that he had finally achieved justice. That experience reminded him that although the road to the truth might be long and hard, it always comes to light, and that no one could hide their darkest secrets forever.